Hello everyone, Vera here, and welcome to Dearest Models, where I'll be looking at previous model projects in detail. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the show. To kick off this triple feature, we'll be venturing into 16mm and starting with our dear friend Rusty. Garden railways were something I'd wanted since childhood. Ever since my dad recorded Mark Found's Garden Railway on a VHS for me, it's just been a long-term dream. But it wasn't until early 2022 that I actually started getting into the larger side of the hobby. When I started researching into what was available, it quickly became apparent that Rusty was the most viable loco to start with. Bowl Lasercraft make a Midlander in both kit and ready to run, and I didn't really feel confident enough to build a kit for my very first loco, so I chose the ready to run version in plain black and the Midlander nameplates not fitted. Once Rusty arrived and I'd gotten hang of the control system, I started to modify them. The first thing I did was add a driver. This I bought from an eBay store, but honestly I cannot remember which one. Next came the name and number transfers. These were Fox transfers, 5mm gold lettering, and Old Time Workshop TR coach numbers respectively. After that came lampines from Loco Works. These you'll need 10 BA screw and nuts to complete them. The front lampine was difficult, as I didn't really want their face area blocked, and the lampines didn't really sit well on top, so I ended up fitting one back to front on the front buffer beam, and that way the lamp doesn't overhang it too much. Later that year, after seeing Luke Ryan's own Rusty in person, I realised that there was room for improvement. To this end, I repainted the buffer beams and shanks in Humbrol Satin number 174. The buffer heads themselves were painted black, both filler caps were painted gold, and the couplings were drilled out. This was to allow permanent 3-link couplings at each end. Another thing of note is that Rusty has more exhaust ports than Midlander does, so for these I chopped up some old USB cables and glued them on. Now they do look a bit janky honestly, but they serve their purpose. Early the following year, Rusty was upgraded with 3D printed faces in the style of the TV series. The faces themselves were designed by Andrew of the Chairlord and Railway Series book club fame, and 3D printed by a good friend of mine, Nova. The main face colour is Humbrol Matte number 64, and the pupils are stickers that I found on Etsy in various sizes. Later on I would get a second happy face printed with the eyes looking the other way. This is just to help with photo shoots and such. After that, Rusty was essentially done. For those interested, Rusty uses the Loco remote control system. The way this works is by making your Loco a Wi-Fi hotspot essentially. Then, using your device of choice, like a phone or a tablet, whatever, you connect to the Loco network and load up the specific web page with the controls on it. It's a very solid and reliable system I think, but the only, I suppose, downside is that the rate of acceleration is preset by the app. It'll only accelerate so fast. The last chapter in Rusty's story is the purchase of a doll's house cat. If you've read Rusty's Catnap, written by the very talented Anstis / BurtonRailway, you'll know why. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to give this story a read. I've left the link to the full volume, 6 Little Engines, in the description. Now, around the time of repainting Rusty's buffers, I'd found a Chorus brake van on eBay. Built and partially painted, they were one for only a tenner. It wasn't until recently that I actually found out that this is the 10mm version of the kit, and that's £70 brand new without the wheels, so, bargain there. The first order of business was to remove the large centre buffer coupling and to begin painting. Starting off with several coats of Dalla Rowney Graduate Acrylic Paint Cerulean Hue, before adding the usual black and Humbrol number 9 for the footboard. Handrails were then picked out in silver and the roof painted grey. After painting came the transfers. She uses the same transfers as Rusty, but please note that I have purposefully given her the wrong number. For those that don't know, in Audrey Law she's number 9 with the 3 open coaches coming before her, but personally it's just always made more sense for her to be number 6. Agree to disagree, I suppose. Detailing was next on the list. This started with the fitting of lamp irons, same as Rusty uses, and then adding the metal bracing on the ends. These are chopped up wagon hinges from IP Engineering, in case you're wondering. Next up, it was time to add the buffers and draw hooks. The couplings are from Bowl Lasercraft, make sure you choose the small ones, and the buffers are also from IP Engineering, but they're centre buffer ones, so you'll need to fill in the hole in the centre before you use them. I didn't have the confidence to drill holes in the buffer beam for them, so I chopped the screw threads off the back. Cora's final chapter came about 8 months later. I had the thought that it would be cool if the former mid-Sodal stock retained that iconic bar from their coupling system, but purely for aesthetic historic reasons, still using the traditional draw hook as the main coupling. These were designed by me, but 3D printed by Nova. The concept for Vera actually predates the model by quite a margin. Years and years ago, I was playing a narrow gauge Roblox game with some friends, and that featured a bogey refreshment van. During this game, I pretended to be a little old lady called Doris, but remembering the lovable character from Oh Dr. Beeching, I changed it to Vera. Jumping ahead several more years to when I did 3D modelling, I decided to make my own refreshment coach based on TR styling with full cooking facilities, the whole caboodle. Essentially an upgrade from the one from the show. Things went from there, and it eventually led to me going by Old Vera. There you go. Lore drop over, let's get to the model. I didn't initially plan to make Vera, as I thought converting a bogey coach would be too challenging, but after some persuasion I bought a kit from IP Engineering for the TR's own refreshment van from the late 50s. It was an interesting kit to build. One problem I did have is that it rides too high on the chassis, so I tried to lower it as best I could. The beading around the panels is also quite fiddly, so make sure to take your time lining that up properly. Once I'd gotten the shell built, painting started. Using all the same paints as Cora, minus Humbrol number 9, instead using Halford's Rover Russet Brown for the counters and shelving, and cream for the interior. Another dilemma was the serving hatches. The kit is designed for them to be static, either open or shut, but I wanted them to be functional. After some searching, I found some hinges on a website specialising in doll's house miniatures. After filing down the hatches and painting them, they were fitted to the model. Next up were the transfers. Same story as Cora and Rusty, but thankfully the coach number sheet comes with the specific transfers for the van, so that just saved me a whole lot of hassle. I then used Fox Transfers 3mm lettering to add the name. After these were fitted and sealed in, the windows were fitted as well. The most exciting thing perhaps is that on the Doll's House website they had a wide variety of accessories, fairly close in scale, meaning that Vera could actually be kitted out with a competitive selection. This includes, but is not limited to, tea, fruit juice, fizzy drinks, biscuits, sandwiches, pork pies, crisps, and a selection of cakes. To finish her off, lamp irons were added, along with a refreshment lady figure from Model Town. Once all secured in place, I could finally add the roof. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know it's been about 2.5 years since the last instalment, so I hope you enjoyed this one. Now, I'm not promising anything, but hopefully this will be the first of a few episodes in 2024.